On December 1st, 2018, Jacquelyn Smith's life was violently torn away, and what was initially believed to be a random, senseless act of violence quickly turned into a horrific tale of betrayal. Keith Smith, Jacquelyn's husband, made a frantic 911 call, claiming that a panhandler had attacked his wife after she gave money to a woman with a baby. According to Keith, the attacker stabbed Jacquelyn before fleeing into the night with stolen items. But what if Keith's story was a lie? What if the man who claimed to love her was the one who plotted her murder for the sake of money? A life insurance policy worth $804,000, money that would be his if Jacquelyn were dead. A crime so meticulously planned, it would shake the very core of their family. Today, we uncover the truth about Jacquelyn Smith's tragic death, a story that begins with a lie but ends with shocking betrayal and a fight for justice. Welcome back to Secrets in the Shadows. Today, we delve deep into the tragic case of Jacquelyn Smith, a woman whose life was stolen in an act of cold betrayal. It seemed like an ordinary evening when Jacquelyn was fatally stabbed, but the truth behind her death would reveal a web of lies, deception, and greed that no one could have predicted. Her husband, Keith Smith, initially painted a picture of a random, violent attack. But as investigators dug deeper, the pieces didn't fit. This case is a chilling reminder that the ones we trust the most can be capable of the worst. Viewer discretion is advised. This story involves graphic content and disturbing details. If you haven't already, subscribe to Secrets in the Shadows, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like. Your support helps us continue uncovering the darkest corners of true crime. On the evening of December 1st, 2018, Keith Smith and his wife, Jacquelyn, were enjoying an ordinary night with family and friends at Baltimore's American Legion Hall, celebrating and making memories. The evening was filled with laughter, photos, and conversations, simple moments that would soon be overshadowed by tragedy. Just before midnight, they left the hall, unaware that their lives would be forever changed. At approximately 12:30 a.m., Keith made a frantic 911 call, reporting that a stranger had stabbed his wife. He claimed that they had pulled over to help a woman holding a cardboard sign, and suddenly a man approached the car, thanked Jacquelyn, and in a split second stabbed her. Keith's voice was shaky but oddly composed, and while the call suggested chaos, detectives were disturbed by his lack of raw panic. Despite immediate efforts at Johns Hopkins Hospital, Jacquelyn succumbed to her injuries before 1 a.m., having suffered 5 deep stab wounds and a defensive cut on her arm. But when police arrived at the supposed crime scene near Valley Street and East Chase Street, they found no evidence to support Keith's story. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood spatter, and no witnesses to the attack. The location was not known for panhandlers, and most strikingly, there was no physical evidence of violence at all. These inconsistencies would soon lead detectives to uncover a much darker truth. Keith Smith had orchestrated the murder of his wife for financial gain. As the investigation into Jacquelyn Smith's murder unfolded, the details became increasingly bizarre and inconsistent. Investigators discovered that Jacquelyn's purse and cell phone were missing, yet neither item turned up in pawn shops or on the streets in the following days. Cell phone data from Valeria Smith's phone revealed that after leaving the party, The family had made an unexpected detour to Druid Hill Park near the Maryland Zoo for about 15 minutes, a stop neither Keith nor Valeria had initially disclosed to the police. As detectives pressed Keith for clarity, his story began to shift. First, he claimed a male assailant had stolen Jacquelyn's purse, but later changed his account, saying it was the woman who had taken it. These inconsistencies, along with the missing evidence and the unexplained detour, raised doubts about the validity of the Smiths' version of events. In the days that followed, Keith and Valeria appeared on television, warning the public about the dangers of helping panhandlers, but their shifting stories and Keith's attempts to leave Maryland only made investigators more suspicious. The cracks in their story grew wider, eventually revealing that what was meant to look like a random act of violence was, in fact, a carefully constructed lie. Detectives began to scrutinize every detail of Keith Smith's story, and what they uncovered only deepened their suspicions. His descriptions of the supposed panhandlers didn't match any eyewitness accounts, and no one in the neighborhood recalled seeing a woman with a cardboard sign that night. Officers canvassed the area, checked security cameras, and spoke to residents, but found no evidence of anyone fitting Keith's description. The lack of witnesses or CCTV footage at Valley Street made his account even harder to believe. As the investigation continued, Valeria Smith's phone records contradicted her claim of waiting in the car. Cell tower data showed she was moving around the area during the time of the attack. Friends of Jacquelyn came forward, revealing that she had confided in them about mounting marital problems and Keith's gambling debts, painting a picture of financial strain and tension at home. Forensic analysis added more doubt to Keith's story. The medical examiner reported that Jacquelyn had suffered 5 stab wounds to her torso and a defensive cut on her arm, but the wounds didn't match the chaotic struggle Keith had described. When detectives processed the family's car, they found only Keith's fingerprints and a pair of gloves, no unidentified prints, no murder weapon, and no physical evidence linking a third party to the crime. Keith's behavior after the murder only deepened suspicion. He made inquiries about life insurance payouts and attempted to leave the state, eventually being arrested near the Mexican border. Each new revelation chipped away at his story, exposing the deception he had used to hide the truth. But the most dramatic turn in the investigation came when someone much closer to Keith than anyone expected came forward with information that would unravel the entire case. Justice for Jacquelyn began to take shape when Valeria Smith stepped into the witness box. Her decision to testify against her own father, Keith Smith, marked a pivotal moment in the trial. Under oath, Valeria revealed how Keith orchestrated Jacquelyn's murder and manipulated her into helping carry out the plan. She spoke about the pressure he placed on her, using her struggles with addiction and mental health as leverage to control her. Valeria's testimony painted a picture of a father who exploited his daughter's vulnerabilities, convincing her that participating in the crime would solve their problems. Her account filled in the missing pieces for the prosecution as she described the planning, execution, and aftermath of the murder. She recounted how Keith insisted they stick to the fabricated story about panhandlers and how he made her believe there was no way out. The emotional weight of her words was clear as she admitted her role in the crime and expressed deep remorse for the pain it caused Jacquelyn's family. Valeria's courage to testify against her father helped bring the truth to light and played a crucial role in securing justice for Jacquelyn. During the trial, Jacquelyn's family was allowed to speak, and their words left a profound impact on the courtroom. Her mother took the stand, her voice breaking, as she described Jacquelyn's kindness and the deep loss her murder had caused. Family and friends painted a vivid picture of a woman whose generosity and trust were central to her character. Their emotional testimony reminded everyone in the courtroom that Jacquelyn was more than just a victim. She was a beloved daughter, sister, and friend, and her tragic death left a hole in the lives of those who loved her. Keith Smith also testified in his own defense, but his statements were riddled with inconsistencies and evasions. Under cross-examination, he struggled to maintain his story, often contradicting himself and failing to recall important details. The jury saw through his attempts to deflect blame, recognizing the calculated nature of his actions. Even without the introduction of the life insurance policy as evidence, prosecutors were able to establish a clear financial motive, showing that Keith stood to gain from Jacquelyn's death. His own testimony, combined with the mounting evidence, ultimately sealed his fate. In December 2021, the verdict was delivered in the case of Jacquelyn Smith's murder. Keith Smith was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison for the brutal killing of his wife. His daughter, Valeria Smith, who had cooperated with authorities and admitted her involvement in the crime, was sentenced to 5 years in prison for accessory after the fact. For Jacquelyn's family, the outcome of the trial brought a sense of closure after a long and painful journey. Jacquelyn's mother, reflecting on the ordeal, remarked, "I knew it was a circus. I knew this day would come," acknowledging the emotional toll the entire process had taken on them. The case left a lasting impact on everyone involved, serving as a stark reminder of how trust can be shattered by those closest to us, particularly when greed and betrayal are involved. The investigation into Keith and Valeria Smith's roles in Jacquelyn's death was as gripping as it was tragic. What had started as a seemingly innocent 911 call soon spiraled into a full-blown criminal case. The shocking truth was revealed. The murder was carefully planned, and the Smiths had tried to cover their tracks. Keith's cold demeanor throughout the investigation, coupled with the mounting evidence, painted a picture of a man willing to do anything for money. But it wasn't just Keith who was responsible. Valeria, his daughter, was an active participant in the plot. She had helped cover up the crime and even assisted her father in fleeing the country. Keith Smith's carefully laid plans began to crumble as the truth came to light. In December 2021, Keith was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison, plus an additional 3 years for using a deadly weapon. Valeria, who initially faced murder charges, pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Jacquelyn Smith's murder is a case that will stay with you long after you've finished listening. It's the kind of story that shakes you to your core, reminding us of how fragile trust really is. Jacquelyn's life was stolen by those who promised to love and protect her. And yet, the tragedy was avoidable. Keith and Valeria Smith's actions were driven by nothing more than greed and a willingness to do whatever it took to get what they wanted. And in the end, they destroyed a family in the process. As we conclude, tonight's story, let's remember Jacquelyn not for the way she died, but for the life she lived before the darkness took hold. She was a mother, a wife, and a woman who deserved far more than the betrayal she received. If Jacquelyn's story moved you, don't let it fade. Like this video to honor her memory. Comment below, what do you think about the betrayal that led to her death? How can we protect others from similar fates? Subscribe to Secrets in the Shadows and turn on notifications to stay updated on the latest true crime cases. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Charlotte, and I'll see you next time when we step into another shadow, searching for the truth. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and never stop fighting for justice.